Hello, Loony listeners. You're listening to episode 16 of Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Ray.
And I'm your other host, Connor. And this week, we are jam-packed with news and heading right back to the start of Moon Knight with Werewolf by Night issue 32 and 33 in a historical retrospective. So sit back, grab out your issues, and get your conchu on.
Welcome back, Loonies. Thanks for joining us yet again after our epic episode last week, which saw us go through Max Bemis and Jason Burrows' first comic issue run of 188. Connor, how are you?
I am doing rather well. We are recording a little later than usual on a Saturday night, but I am still more than pumped for this episode.
Me too as well. We've actually got... before we get into Moon Knight, this is actually a bit of an important week for all comic book fans and comic film fans alike. We have the Justice League of America movie out this week, just passed. And we also have the premiere of Netflix The Punisher show. So there's plenty to catch up on the small screen and big screen. Connor, have you caught up with the JLA film yet, or...?
Yeah, I watched, I watched 40 minutes of the Justice League before I had to exit the cinema because we got our times wrong.
Oh, no.
No, that one was...
What happened there?
We thought, it went for the old time of, 2 hours, 50 minutes instead of the 2 hours it was. So we were like, oh, we're going to have to leave this cinema early anyway, so we might as well leave now, and left, 40 minutes into it. I know it's going to sound pretty fanboy to not so much hate on DC, but do so kind of do so on a Marvel podcast. But seriously, I'm a lover of all comics, but Justice League just didn't quite do it for me. It didn't sort of have what I wanted out of the film compared to what I loved about Wonder Woman. And I know there are a lot of people who'd love it as much as I loved Wonder Woman. That's really good. But yeah, when it comes to this particular superhero movie, it definitely wasn't for me.
Oh, okay. I've yet to see it, and I'm kind of dodging all kind of comments and spoilers and discussions on it online, so I'm kind of really laying low for that. But interesting to hear. Well, having said that, I have actually seen a few comments as well. But I've read that people are generally okay with it. Was it something in particular, Connor, that really fell flat for you, or was it something that you wanted to see that didn't turn up? Or
I think admittedly did leave the movie 40 minutes into it, so it's hard to make a full comment. But it was very kind of set-up-y for a big movie, and it just kind of didn't sit right. It definitely seemed possibly caught between the direction of two different filmmakers. The sad occurrences that led Snyder to leaving and Joss Whedon having to reshoot some of it. That kind of felt some of it was a bit awkward in places, and I mean it did seem like the movie was getting better as I had to leave. But yeah, that opening was a bit too exposition heavy, I think. Saying that a lot of these team films haven't for me. I'll go on the record to say I'm not even that big a Avengers fan. That first movie falls a bit flat for me. So I suppose maybe I prefer possibly the smaller scale or the more focus than the big bravos of the team films. But yeah,
you definitely can't get much grander than, say, an Avengers film or a JLA. I think that's kind of the tentpole of all kind of comic film, films or TV shows. So yeah, it is. I can imagine the scale's going to be huge, which kind of makes me wonder how the Infinity War will be when it comes out finally from Marvel or the MCU.
Yeah, with 20 heroes.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of proved it with Civil War. That's
true.
The Russo
I did
brothers
enjoy that. Yeah.
They definitely can handle and juggle a large cast. Did you feel any, or did you sense of any Whedon's stamp on the movie that you saw?
I think some of the humor was more his.
Yeah,
like with the with Flash and just a few of the other quips hanging around.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, so looking forward to kind of seeing that.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear your take
soon. I mean, I'm unfortunately, and it's not because I hate it or anything like that, but I'm just not a DC fan. I haven't cracked into that universe, so I'm still interested in it, and I did really enjoy Wonder Woman. Yeah, that's my only kind of hesitation, because it has actually happened with other DC movies. You go in and you're kind of disappointed at I guess how uninspiring it can be. For me, stuff like, I don't know, the Suicide Squad, which I kind of got excited for. To me, it was a disappointment, because it kind of was run of the mill. It was to me, it was a little formulaic, and it didn't add anything. Whereas I'm not gonna let's not start a Marvel or DC war or anything like that. But just saying, like, with at least Marvel, they do try different things, and you see that with the different styles of films that they come up with each of their Marvel films. So even if it may be hit or miss, but at least they do try something different. And so that's my only hesitation, to actually get excited about JLA and then go into it and be thinking to myself while I watch it, oh gosh, this is very formulaic. But I'm looking forward to Wonder Woman and Batman as well. Yeah, we'll see. I'll let you know once I see it for sure. Second up, we have obviously another big one, but it's on the small screen. So we're recording on Saturday, and it dropped on Friday the 17th. It was Netflix's The Punisher series, Connor. So what were your overall impressions with this series? So
I have watched about 3 episodes, as has Ray. Rebecca's smashing through it.
Yeah,
and hopefully
she's
when
up to 10, I think.
Yeah, and hopefully when she joins us next week, we'll hopefully maybe have seen it all, or at least have someone who has for bigger overall impressions. But I am really liking it. It's really well acted, great cinematography, great writing. I really like that first episode. It was a fun little one-shot with the story really in episodes 2 and 3. Probably my only complaint, and it's such a weird sort of show that my opinions are positive, but still sort of in a weird space, because I like it as a show, but at the same time, it doesn't feel Punisher-y enough. Like, it's a good change of pace for Netflix to sort of separate itself and sort of slow it down from the big defenders and all that. But I think it kind of feels a lot more classic spy thriller. And I mean, there's some great Punisher moments in it so far, but I'm hoping we see more of that, because I mean, the reason why it's the top of my queue right now is because it's the Punisher. Like, if I'd seen the description without the Punisher tag on Netflix, I wouldn't be so jumping onto it. I mean, I'd still enjoy it even without the Punisher tagline, but I'm like, when it comes to your expectations for the show, it's definitely a different sort of show for Netflix, which I feel is what they need. I can see why it's taken this particular route.
Yeah, it's a very fine line, and I think you're what you're saying is, I mean, I share exactly the same as well. Like, with the title The Punisher, there is that expectation of, okay, well, let's see very Punisher-y things, and but on the flip side, as you say, Netflix are taking it on a weird angle and really grounding it, and kind of making him a real three-dimensional character. So I guess you do get and you do get some of the Punisher moments, which, funnily enough, I actually thought kind of, the introduction to episode 1, I was actually, although it was kind of fun, I was thinking, oh gosh, I hope it's not all going to be like this, because it kind of reminded me a bit of Punisher Warzone, the movie, and how that was really just over the top, just killing, and it really didn't have much depth to it. So I'm glad that happened in this episode right at the beginning, and then that was it, and then you see him 6 months later. I'm really enjoying it as well. Episode 1, I thought was really good. I posted up something on the Defenders TV podcast in their thread there. I thought the script or the writing in the first episode was a little clunky at parts. Sometimes, I guess, when the writing, I don't know, for me, doesn't really work, you end up just watching... consciously watching actors just recite their lines, if you know what I mean. And a good actor will make it sound so fluent and natural if it's a good script as well. But if it's a clunky script, then you can kind of tell that they're just trying to deliver the lines. And I felt that in some places in episode 1, in particular, that director of the Homeland Security, I thought he was he was bordering a little bit on hammy, but just the way that he came across was. But I do like all the other supporting cast as well, and Jonathan Bernthal is still awesome as the Punisher. He's just fantastic, and so I like the way that he's taking the role, and I'm exactly up where you are, Connor, as well, just by pure coincidence. I'm up to episode 3, enjoying Micro. I really like how he's been kind of developed as well, and the relationship with him and the Punisher. So yeah, really good. One of the things I was slightly disappointed for was the Marines, the flashbacks to it, and I was hoping to hear a Mark Spector somewhere, but it wasn't to be. And I think previously on our Facebook group we posted a picture of the Marines, and we were all speculating whether this one actual soldier was Mark Spector, but unfortunately I don't think he is, Connor.
Yeah, from what I've heard, and yeah, I mean, that particular Marine, I'm not even sure we'll ever see him again after that flashback.
Actually,
I think gone.
Yeah, I think no spoilers, but I think in that episode, I think you see him on the ground. I don't think he made it.
Oh, really? I didn't notice that, but I would not be surprised. But as I was saying, from people who've now, it's been out 24 hours, some people have gotten rather near the finish line or finished it. I haven't heard anyone say, this hero's arrived, because we obviously know that some hero will be in it. But by the sounds of it...
That's right.
Yeah, but by the sounds of it does seem like that hero's involvement will be quite minimal. Like, if it is Moon Knight, I doubt we'd even get more than an episode's worth, regardless of who it is, if it's someone else.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
But do you think we'll see? Do you think we'll see someone, or will you reckon it'll be just a mention or a small Easter egg or something?
I feel possibly it might be more of a mention. Yeah, it just I don't know. It just seems like, because we did get such a definitive news announcement of the hero will be in Punisher, but the lack of actual news sources that usually come out of the hype of a show like this just doesn't seem to be anything. Now a whole 29 hours on from its initial release.
Yeah, and they definitely said. I'm just trying to remember, but. They definitely said a Marvel hero, right? They didn't say a Marvel character, because if they do that, they can get away with Karen Page, or, we've seen some familiar faces already, like Schoonover as well, the general, or the commanding officer for Frank. It was specifically a Marvel hero, wasn't it?
Yeah, for sure. That's how they definitely made it sound.
Okay. Well, I guess the money's on... You'd still kind of think Daredevil then, wouldn't you, as well? I mean, although, depending on when this is set, Daredevil's presumed dead from the Defenders, but we don't know when... I'm not sure... Do you have a feel for when this falls in timeline-wise with the other shows?
Yeah, actually, there's been no mention of it so far. I feel like...
It could well be... Well, it's 6 months... It would have been like about 6 months after he crossed paths with Daredevil in season 2, right? Because he parts ways with Daredevil, and then he goes on his missions and kills the cartels and all that, which he does, and then you fast forward 6 months, and he's on the building site. With the Defenders, that happens. Oh gosh, I can't remember. That's too difficult for me, Connor.
Yeah, it's definitely. it's definitely the timeline between like Iron Fist and Daredevil season 2 and Defenders that'll decide where this is.
Yeah. Yeah, but anyway, I mean that's just a small take. So Looney's no sightings of our boy Moon Knight yet, but those were the two big things that came out this week. All right, okay. Let's dive in straight into the news, and we have a fair few articles here.
A few items.
So I tried to put in our notes, tried to get them in kind of chronological order. The first one off the bat I thought was really cool. After we did our last episode of the panel-by-panel breakdown of issue 188 of the latest run of Moon Knight, we got a response kind of from one Max Bemis.
Yeah, this was really lovely, and it just kind of makes doing this sort of show just feel a little more special. And just seeing fan response to the episode as well, people talking about it in the Facebook group. It's just all of it's just kind of come together to just make you feel good.
Yeah. Make you feel good, get the warm and fuzzies. So thank you so much, Loony, for all the kind words, and yeah, we do love doing it. But anyway, so Max Bemis, he says this means, he was retweeting or replying to a tweet that we put up, which was basically describing that we're doing a panel by panel of the issue, and he goes, "This means so much, guys. I don't think I've ever had a piece of art I've been involved with analysed to this extent ever. And it's hugely flattering and a writer's dream. Thank you." So you can't get any better than that from the writer himself. So we're pretty chuffed by that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
thank you, Max Bemis, for putting together such a good comic, along with the amazing creative team as well.
Oh yeah, it's hit the ground running, and my gosh, that's only issue 1, so we've got all these other issues ahead. And I think Max Bemis said as well he'd love to do 40, 50 issues, and if it's anything like this first issue, I hope he does. The second article, actually, this is an interesting one here. I'm not sure if you read this one, Connor. This article is called "Reality Check: Moon Knight's 188 Bipolar Bad Guy," and this is pretty cool. It actually goes into basically what bipolar entails, and it just kind of expands a bit more on what Bemis touched upon with his patient 86 in Moon Knight, who had been diagnosed with bipolar. So this is just an interesting little article, just in case you're curious about more about this disorder, also was known as manic depression, and I think it's very cleverly written around the latest issue 188. Apart from that, it goes on to say that basically what Bemis had mentioned about having bipolar can sometimes produce very creative and artistic phases in people, and the writer cites that the late Carrie Fisher was diagnosed with bipolar as well, and in the comics, as we discussed before, you had the likes of Kurt Cobain, Ernest Hemingway, and Beethoven as people who had bipolar. So quite an interesting little article there.
Yeah, I think it's kind of discussion I love seeing about Moon Knight, especially with the Lemire run, bringing mental illness to the forefront more than ever, and what this run has done and will continue to do just seems like such a great move when it comes to Moon Knight, and it's glad to see an actual psychiatrist here, along Adventures in Portage, which I think is a fantastic comics website, sort of just getting into the details of it and spreading more information around it, and just having a comics property bring something like that to the forefront and seeing stuff like this come out that gets it around. So great article, and just its existence is just great in general, I think. Yeah,
it's pretty cool as well that, like, as you mentioned, Lemire's run was very much based around the mental realm of Moon Knight. And I do like how Bemis has tackled it by in this first issue 188, he totally addresses it still by using Dr. Emmett, as our avatar, kind of through the book. But there's just that feel of it being kind of similar to like a Houston run again, with a lot of physicality to it. Not necessarily in 188, but we've seen other previews, with Moon Knight battling the thugs and all that. So he really does, get his hands dirty, which I'm looking forward to seeing as well.
Heck yeah, 100%.
Next up we have it was just a small thing, but it was great that Marvel Entertainment, they on Twitter as well, they released a little 30-second promo video on Moon Knight. So just a bit of promo for the new Moon Knight series out, and from everywhere I hear, Connor, I think it's been getting very, very, very positive reviews from everyone. So it's really Jake Thomas has done another remarkable job pulling a team together like Bendis and Burrows. So yeah, definitely check out the little video. It's fun to watch. Only about 30 seconds or so. Did you manage to catch this as well, Connor?
No, I didn't actually, but I'll check it out after the episode. But I think it's I think it's just echoed sentiments even before the run came out. Just the last few years, and especially the last even 6 months, have been very kind to Moon Knight creatively, and just sort of the recognition and discussion around. I think Marvel has honestly done quite a great job at including Moon Knight in things like video games, posting up cool reports, seeing articles on them by different writers. Like, the love's always been there, but it just seems like there's a bigger effort from Marvel, I think even for all of their characters in the last couple of years, just to take the lower tiers and just bring them to the forefront and give them the love they deserve.
Yeah, there's just almost that freedom you get, because there's not that weight of trying to handle a legacy character correctly. You kind of know what I mean. Like, I guess you have the likes of Full Killer and Hyperion. Even like Scarlet Witch. I'm not sure. Had you read that run as well? That was a brilliant run, I thought. One of my favourites. I think every issue was a one shot, but it had different artists, and it was really good. So I think with the lesser tier characters, you can get away with more, and I think the writers have a lot more creative reign. Moon Knight, I think, is certainly getting up there. I wouldn't say top tier, but a lot higher than some other secondary characters in the Marvel universe. Each run like this can only promote him even more, I guess. So the next article we have was getting into the realm of video games, and this came from Fortress of Solitude, and it just cites 6 heroes who deserve their own video game, and one of them is our White Knight, Moon Knight. I certainly would love to see a standalone game, kind of with Moon Knight, something along the lines of Arkham Asylum. I think I'd get that in a heartbeat. How about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if we could get something of even particularly that quality, would just be amazing. I love sort of beat 'em up action games. I think Moon Knight could lead to some very brutal and interesting combat. Like, even moving past just the classic counter and beat like movement. There's a lot of stuff you can do with, just sort of everything that makes Moon Knight, the brutality. This article makes some interest of the different personalities. And I think there particularly could be some fun with mixing around with like Mr. Knight and Moon Knight and all that crazy gear we saw in in stuff, especially the Ellis Wood Bun Run, the giant bird skull armor.
And you can think of it like it's a marketer's dream. You can do the I can't remember what you call them, Connor, but it's where you buy different skins and stuff. You can have your Stephen Grant, your Jake Lockley, and you can bounce around between them. They've got some interesting characters here. Doctor Strange, I definitely would love to see a standalone Doctor Strange video game. You got your Rocket and Groot. Kind of would be a fun one. Not really my fave. Gambit would be interesting. Iron Fist would be really cool as well. I'd like to see that. Iron Man for sure. I'm sure there were Iron Man ones before as well.
Yeah, they were pretty rubbish.
Yeah, they were rubbish. Yeah, it's got to be done. Yeah, it has to be done right though.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
It feels like for
sometimes.
such. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, for such a.
Oh, just for such a for such an just openly, as you said, marketable dream of comic books, it can be so hard for a video game to get them right.
I wonder why that is. I mean, because the Batman ones seem to be really, really good, and I know there's a Spider-Man one coming out, which looks pretty cool, as well. I played a Wolverine one, which I thought wasn't half bad.
Yeah, no, true.
Yeah, did you play that as well? That was pretty cool as well. Like the moves you can do, and the difficulty factor was pretty good. And I did play. There was another one for Deadpool on the Xbox. I'm not sure if you played that one, Connor, as well, but that was a really good one, I thought, as well. That was really fun. But then you get a lot of, like, there were a few Iron Mans. There were ones released along with the movies, and I think they were just like token releases. They must have had a really small budget or something, and they were just released for the fact that, it's a movie's out, someone's going to buy these games, and the games were just rubbish.
Yeah, no, they were like just pumped out. Like I think they had less than a year to make those games or something crazy to keep them, up to date, and they were pretty, by all means, substandard.
And it's such a shame as well, because you have good characters. For a long time I've been wanting actually a Daredevil game. I think that would have been fantastic. I even sent a message to This Week in Marvel, I think, the podcast, I think years ago. I was just saying that, there should be a Daredevil, there should be a Daredevil game, because I can just see, like, the things that you can do, like with the radar sense and, the billy clubs and swinging around. It'd be good. But off the track here, looking back at Moon Knight, I reckon Moon Knight would be really good as well, but it would have to be done well. Like,
yes.
I'd be really disappointed if they do try and just shoehorn something in. Okay, apart from that, there was another article on CBR.com, Comic Resources, and it had a whole list of villains who are probably too offensive for the Marvel MCU. This was just a bit of fun, and there's no prizes here to guess from our stable who that would be, and that's Bushman. He comes in at number 11. And he's definitely he is terrifying, but it's more so, I think, what Moon Knight does to him that that you can't really, that would have to be censored, because as we all know, his face gets cut off by Moon Knight, which is not the most pleasant thing. But that's a little fun article just to read about villains. Then we've got there are more than this one. This is a comic book review on Moon Knight 188. As we had in our last episode, one of our loonies, Joel, wrote up a fantastic review on issue 188, and look, there's a whole lot of them out there. This was just another one on Moon Knight, which I guess we'll post up as well. Also, we have from wearethemighty.com 7 heroes who served in the Marine Corps, and of course that involves our Mark Spector as well. An interesting array of characters here, Connor, in the article. Moon Knight comes in at number 7, so obviously at the bottom, just the most obvious, I guess. Then you have, again, I'm not too sure on these DC guys, the Green Lantern, John Stewart's, I'm assuming, and then there's a couple of there's Thunderbird, War Machine, which is pretty obvious.
Yeah.
And number 4, Maria Hill, very much so. Azrael from DC, and of course Frank Castle, the Punisher. So pretty much an article kind of gearing up and getting a buzz around the premiere of the Netflix Punisher show. But it's got Moon Knight in there, so we have another article. There are 15 insane theories for the Netflix Punisher, and this particular point 10 was relevant to us. There are a lot of theories here. I actually tried to avoid reading much of this, Connor, because having just started watching the series,
me too.
I didn't want to really. So I just found out that point 10 was a theory that Moon Knight might arrive, which we've speculated for a long time. And look, we'll put this in the show notes, but I dare not look into that article because I just don't want to be spoiled by anything. So, yeah. Any thoughts on that one, Connor? Or
I mean, not really. I only read the Moon Knight one. Yeah, I sort of skipped a lot of it.
And that's pretty obvious. Point 10. It's what we've been mumbling about for a long time now. And Connor, I'll throw to you for the last two articles that we got.
Yeah, these are the big ones. I'll just say quickly for the previous ones that it was just sort of generally nice to see Moon Knight popping around just in a lot of different articles. It's nice. It's what you want to see.
He's in the minds of everyone.
Yeah, but this is the biggest and easily most exciting news of the week.
Sure.
We have a new sort of mini event. It doesn't seem like there'll be sort of any tie-ins, just sort of a closed contained little event called Doctor Strange Damnation, written by Donny Cates and Nick Spencer. Donny Cates currently on Doctor Strange. Nick Spencer, writer of the Captain America and Secret Empire runs. Learning from Rebecca that Donny Cates and Nick Spencer have already written before. And with incredible artist Rod Reyes, they will be leading this event in February 2018 that sees Doctor Strange attempting to undo the destruction of Las Vegas that took place through the orders of evil Captain America during the Secret Empire event. And if I'll just pull up the photo, we have a wonderful, wonderful lineup of Doctor Strange, Blade, Iron Fist. Is it Johnny Blaze, the Ghost Rider here?
Yeah, I think it's Johnny Blaze.
The one Nicolas Cage played in the movies. That's all I know.
Yeah.
Of course, not just Moon Knight, but actually pictured here, Mr. Knight. So yes, all the money's going towards this.
How good is this? This is going to be a ripper. It's a magic event, right? So I'm not sure entirely how Moon Knight factors or Mr. Knight factors into it. He's not really in the magic realm, is he? I thought he was more in the kind of like Black Panther with the Basts, right? Just with the I don't know. Is that? I was just I mean, I'm not to say that I don't want to see him in there, because how cool is that? You can see him standing right next to Blade, and that would just rock. But but he's not mystical, is he?
I suppose he does have the talent and knowledge to take down the supernatural. He's definitely has plenty of his own issues, gearing up his arsenal to take down the baddies. I think. Yeah.
It is a bit of a strange one. But look, he's going to be there, I hope. There was just some comments to and fro between ourselves and Vengeance Unbound, which is the Ghost Rider podcast, a really good podcast. And the guys over there, Brian was saying, "Oh gosh, it probably will be 98% Doctor Strange, and then the last couple of pages you get Iron Fist, Ghost Rider, Moon Knight. Let's hope not." Also, it was described in I think in the interview with Donny Cates and Nick Spencer that it's not only going to be these dudes with Doctor Strange. There's actually a huge cast, so they haven't revealed everyone, but it is comforting to know that these guys are on the what looks to be the cover art, so they've got to play some sort of greater role than the rest of the cast.
And this interview...
So really...
Oh, sorry?
No, sorry, yep. The interview was...
and Donny Cates, when talking in an interview, gave Moon Knight 3 exclamation points when he was talking about how excited he was to writing him, so I feel like...
Yeah, I saw that.
He doesn't quite need the worry. I feel like... I hope this will be a nice event, like a nice event for including everyone. It seems like these 5 on the cover seem like the real big players. It seems like a sort of... I don't want to compare another event to another, because that may, take the gravitas away from one and the other, but it definitely seems like another sort of Shadowland cool event, just sort of celebrating the supernatural and the street level, because I feel like all of these are kind of a nice mix of both.
And it's so great to have Blade back in the mix, with things just following a bit of Spirits of Vengeance, that legacy title, and he's been away for so long, and he's such a kick-ass dude. It's really cool. And always good to see Mr. Knight. He played a really cool role in that Deadpool kills the rest of the Marvel Universe again. He was actually one of the better, foes of Deadpool there. So great to see. Sorry?
No, I'll let you finish.
No, I was just about to ask you for that last article.
Oh, I will actually say one more thing, that there is don't you guys worry, there is a Connect and variant cover for, I'm guessing, all of these issues by Greg Smallwood, so those will be an absolute delight.
Oh, what? Oh, yes, I'm looking at the article.
Yeah,
now.
there's
awesome stuff
down the bottom, pointing out that I didn't mention before, as Doctor Strange tries to resurrect Las Vegas from the after effects of Secret Empire, he will open the door for Mephisto to come in and beat everyone up. So that's sort of the crux of the event. But yeah, definitely getting those Greg Smallwood variant covers. Nothing will stop me from those.
That'd be good. I'm a bit of a fan of Ron Lim as well. I see he's got a variant cover as well. So Ron Lim, I remember fondly doing the Silver Surfer run back in the 90s.
Cool.
And I think he did. He drew much of the Infinity Gauntlet. I think so.
Oh wow. Okay.
He's a really talented and experienced artist. But yeah, definitely Greg Smallwood. For sure. He's a MK alumni. I'll be getting that for sure. And finally, Connor, we have one more article.
Yes, so I believe just Friday, I haven't had the chance to pick it up myself, but Lego Marvel 2 dropped, and we have a nice little article pointing out, for a lot of things, but that Moon Knight is actually in there. Apparently there's a nice little glimpse of him.
Yeah, I had a look at the trailer, and it's literally like half a second. I thought there would be a lot more. You see from almost a bird's eye view. He's in the arena with others, and it can only be him, I'm assuming, unless it's White Tiger, and I haven't recognised him properly, but he's in an arena, and it looks like he's in the classic garb, which is the white cape and the hood. And he's just doing battle. But this trailer and this game looks awesome, Connor. I'm really tempted to kind of get it as well. But I don't have a console, so that's not gonna work. I'm taking it you're gonna get it as soon as you can.
Yes, hopefully, as soon as I can. There should be, by next week there'll be more people who've probably finished 100% of this crazy game as people do. So we should have a full roster showing Moon Knight. I feared that it might have been the Phantom Rider that we saw. That would be in this game before, but just from I just watched the trailer, and it's definitely a stick-like weapon that the Phantom Rider wouldn't use. These are very much his two pistols, so it's definitely, I think, Moon Knight.
Okay,
so
fantastic.
We're in luck. But yes, next week we should have 100% confirmation.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And Loonies, just to let you know, it literally is like half a second, so I don't expect to see a lot of Moon Knight in this trailer. But as confirmed from your High Priest of Khonshu, he's definitely there. Be looking forward to that and playing it in some capacity somehow. That kind of wraps up our news. A fair few articles sprayed around, and like I mentioned, there's a whole lot of reviews on issue 188. Just do a Google search, and you should come up with them if you haven't already. Right, Connor, I think it will be time now to go over the moon.
Lovely.
Right, so we are a bit of back history here, Connor. We actually got a suggestion from one of our loonies, Keith, and he wrote to us saying that he's really enjoying the podcast and all, but he mentioned he cited, I think, an X-Men podcast, the Uncanny podcast, and he asked if we could consider doing basically an epic undertaking of actually reviewing Moon Knight from go to woe. So Connor and I, we put our heads together, and we thought we'd give it a go. At least Connor, right? We might we may alter it a little. Only in the fact that, you know, Connor and I are pretty raring to review some of the more recent runs as well. So there'll be a definite continuing thread, I think, throughout our podcast that will cover Moon Knight from his first appearance onwards. But the best way, I think, Connor, we were mentioning or discussing, is that we'll probably do them in parallel. So we'll probably do one comic review of the classic run going through, and we may then jump, you know, further down the track. We may decide to jump onto, say, the Houston run or the Ellis run, or or the Bendis run, just because those runs are really cool and they're recent and they're kind of still fresh in our memories. So it would be good to review. But definitely like the idea of actually going through every single issue in order, to see how Moon Knight gets developed over the course of his 40-year run. Having said that, for our yeah.
Oh no! By all means, go on.
No, sorry. That was I was about to launch into it, but you were about to say.
Oh yeah, I think it'll be good to do runs side by side. I think seeing the development of Moon Knight for a character that jumps around so much will be good. I think there'll be nice parallels with viewing stuff like Houston along from Munch.
Yeah, they'll be good. Actually, it'll be good contrast. Yeah, for sure. And we won't miss any of the issues. So we will cover all of the issues. It's just that we might take a break here and there from the from the classic run. But having said that, Loonies, this podcast now, we have got the first 2 appearances of Moon Knight. He featured basically in Werewolf by Night. So we'll be looking at a couple of issues there, and we are very, very honoured to have our guest narrators for this episode. Connor, you remember all the way back in episode 0, we spoke of our influences and basically where we met to create this podcast, and it was from a fantastic podcast called Serious Issues, and it's hosted by 2 wonderful people, Levins and Siobhan, and they review comics every week, and they read something like 50 plus comics from all publishers every week without fail. It is a fantastic podcast for any of you who would like to, or a bit more curious about other labels or other publishers, as well as just other titles in general. It's definitely worth checking out, and it's you can catch them on facebook.com/groups/serious issues, I believe. So we have
Levins and Siobhan from the awesome Serious Issues podcast. So I'll throw it to them for the first narration.
Hi everybody, this is Levins from the hit podcast Serious Issues, a weekly comic book podcast. I'm here with my friend Siobhan Coombs.
Hello.
And we're going to be doing this book, which is one called The Stalker Called Moon Knight.
Werewolf by Night, Volume 1, Issue 32, released in August 1975. Written by Doug Mensch.
I'm glad you can pronounce. It's always been like one of the names that I'm always just like, I don't want to say his name.
Moench. Mensch.
Munch.
Anyway, and art by Don Perlin and Howie Perlin. That's good.
Colors were by Phil Raish.
Letters by Ray Holloway.
And edited by the late great Len Wein.
Nice.
Is that Wein or Wine?
I would have said Wine.
Well, maybe next time. Len Duddy Wine. So we're going to be doing one paragraph. We're going to be narrating this entire thing. So I'll do one paragraph, then Siobhan will do one paragraph.
Cool.
And we're going to be doing a Transylvanian accent.
Absolutely not.
We are thrust into the middle. Okay. All right, here we go. We are thrust into the middle of a deadly fight in a street alley between Jack Russell, the werewolf by night, and a fast and brutal adversary named Moon Knight. Though sporting what appears to be a hand injury, the werewolf continues to trade blows with the Jet and Silver Avenger, at one point almost biting his neck for a killer blow. Moon Knight proves too skillful, and as a crowd forms around the fight, he relentlessly strikes the werewolf not only with fists but with his silver spiked gloves and his deadly crescent darts.
As the werewolf struggles to remain on his feet after the barrage of blows from Moon Knight, he reflects on how he found himself in this position, fighting for his life against this unstoppable lunatic.
Memories of only the night before resurface in Russell's mind, and he remembers a fight in the snow with his best friend, Buck Cowan. As the werewolf, Russell almost kills a small 7-year-old girl named Buttons. Buck, however, throws himself at the werewolf, saving Buttons, but in doing so, places himself in harm's way.
The werewolf strikes out and injures Buck, leaving him for dead. As the blizzard in the snow subsides and the werewolf no longer holds interest in Buck or Buttons, it wanders off and eventually reverts back to Jack Russell. In the time it takes for Buck to be discovered and brought to hospital, Jack makes his way home, bewildered that Buck doesn't show up for them to head home together. By the time Buck reaches his house... By the time Jack reaches his house, news of Buck slipping into a coma has reached Jack's father. Jack is both frustrated and saddened at what he hears, and when he arrives at the hospital to see his friend in a coma, it proves all too much. Jack strikes out at the wall, breaking his hand.
Take that, you fucking wall. That's actual dialogue from the comic.
The pain, however, is muffled by Jack's anger.
Jack returns home to his father but finds an unexpected guest with him. It's Moon Knight.
Whoa.
And when Jack asks exactly who Moon Knight is, we are treated with a brief origin and motive. I love it when the comics do that.
Yeah.
A highly secretive organization known as the Committee hire a mercenary named Mark Spector for a mission. Spector's profile is impressive. A veteran of 3 African wars, 5 South American revolutions, a stint in the CIA, weapons expert, master of all martial arts, ex-prize fighter and Marine commando. Spector appears to have all the credentials to do the job. The Committee arm him with a suit, weapons and cash, and his job is to bring the werewolf to them.
With the motive revealed, Jack's father tackles Moon Knight, allowing Jack to flee. With the full moon out, however, it doesn't take long for Jack to transform into the werewolf by night. He stumbles into an alley, and we're brought back to where the story began. Moon Knight, the werewolf, and a crowd of intrigued onlookers.
As they continue to fight, we briefly see Jack's sister Lissa and her friend Topaz in their apartment, shaken by the events of what happened to Buck, their friend. A helicopter hovers above the apartment building, and crashing through their window, we see the first appearance of Frenchie, Moon Knight's accomplice. He's there to take Lissa and Topaz hostage, insurance maybe, against the werewolf, in case Moon Knight is unable to fulfill the mission.
Back in the alleyway, the werewolf continues to defend himself against the far superior fighting skills of Moon Knight. He becomes his worst enemy. He strikes out in a berserker rage at Moon Knight, but uses his broken hand. As the pain distracts him, Moon Knight is able to take advantage, and with his silver truncheon, bludgeons the werewolf into submission. Heavy.
With Lissa and Topaz bound in the helicopter, Frenchie flies in to pick up Moon Knight, who finally has his target, the werewolf acquired. As the police arrive, the onlookers look in awe and clear a path as Moon Knight heads into the helicopter, away from the sirens and into the night.
This is so 70s. I love
The end.
The end.
Thank you so much for part 1 of our special reading of this comic for the Hit Podcast. Into the Werewolf by Night, the only Werewolf by Night fan podcast on the internet.
Nailed it.
Thank you so much, Levins and Siobhan, for that funky rendition of issue 32 of Werewolf by Night.
Connor, what a way to introduce Moon Knight. It's definitely a 1975 comic. Let's just say that. But you know, as always, what were your overall impressions after reading this?
Yeah, so I realised how much I start off every bloody thing I say with yeah, or yeah, sure, or yeah, it's getting a bit out of
I reckon I say yeah about 1 million times. So it's a...
sorry.
I was about to say yeah then, so I was just going, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so Doug Munch took over the title at issue 20 and ran with this series till basically issue 43, I believe the series ended. 42.
Okay.
One of two. 43, yeah. 1974 to 77, the ye olde times. I actually think this is quite a it's quite a cool run. I mean, it's very much of its time. It's very overly narrated. It's like everything about that time period. But when it comes to the storytelling of that time, I think it's actually a pretty decent read. I like the art in a lot of issues I've read, even around this one. I like what Munch was doing with Jack Russell in the 70s. He was a very sympathetic hero, but even back then, and wasn't even overwritten as like some kind of annoying teen hero. There's an actual sense of sympathy, and I think, at least for its time, it's actually a fairly solid comic. And these issues were very much the same, not exactly the most... I mean, they're memorable because it's Moon Knight's first appearance, but, not the most memorable story of all time, but there's some cool elements. Although you'll see that Moon Knight really was just sort of a one-off villain who stayed because people loved him so much, which is so cool to remember. But yeah, I mean, decently good issues.
Yeah, I thought I kind of enjoyed it, and exactly as you say, it is very much a 70s comic, so different sort of narrative. Actually, I found we'll get to one of the aspects I thought was Munch's narrative for this, which I found was pretty good. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's Werewolf by Night. It's weird because you can't help but draw comparisons with the Incredible Hulk, as the tragic figure, someone that transforms. So I always wondered, it's so weird, like, haven't they kind of covered this this niche already with the Incredible Hulk? But I guess the Werewolf by Night is your pure supernatural, catering towards the fans that love your typical monster, horror, dark universe, call it what you will. I really enjoy, actually, Werewolf by Night. It's a shame that he's not around enough in the modern era, so I really do hope he pops up somewhere, because he's a really interesting character. And it being a Werewolf by Night comic, most of the comic was obviously dedicated to Jack Russell, so Moon Knight was very limited in it, but there is enough there for us to discuss about Moon Knight in it. So it was an interesting story, I thought. Connor, maybe I'll throw to you for the first aspect.
Yeah, okay, awesome. I'll get one of the sort of smaller ones out of the way before we crack on to the real reason we're covering this for Moon Knight. But Jack Russell himself, so he's sort of suffering a crisis in this issue. In the issue before, the Wolf, as you said, the Incredible Hulk type figure, tried to kill a 7-year-old girl in its fury as an uncontrollable beast that Jack can't control, and his best friend saved Russell from doing that and got mauled by the Wolf. So this issue starts off with Jack trying to recover and try to deal with the repercussions of his terrible actions as the Wolf. And like I said, I mean, this sort of aspect, a bit of writing, I really don't I feel like for its time it's actually pretty cool. It doesn't feel overwritten or really hammy as a lot of teens written by adults were back then. It felt like there was a genuine cause to feel sorry for Jack Russell, and Moon Knight as a villain just seemed like the last thing Jack Russell needed right now.
Munch, I guess it makes sense what you mentioned earlier, having taken the reins for Werewolf by Night. He's really got a good hold on Jack Russell. How to write him is really, if you compare how he writes Moon Knight, which is literally the first time anyone ever sees Moon Knight, the way Moon Knight is written is still kind of a bit loose. He seems very stereotypical, but yeah, totally agree. Werewolf, it was quite interesting, this little side story. You've got to laugh at some of the things, like, a 7-year-old girl named Buttons. I mean, it's kind of a bit saccharine. It's a bit too sickly sweet. But yeah, the elements are there of him mauling his friend and not knowing about it. Again, kind of like the Hulk. But yeah, it makes for a very intriguing character as well. I kind of like Jack Russell as well. Yeah, so
yeah, I'm really sad he's not around as much, especially in the sort of supernatural renaissance Marvel's going through right now. He's sadly absent.
He should be. I mean, who knows if that movie by Tom Cruise and which distributor, if that worked, that they were trying to build the dark universe, to get all your scary monsters back. If that worked, then maybe Marvel would think about reintroducing a werewolf. But he's really a character that should be explored more, I think. Look, my aspect was a main one. I picked the low hanging fruit. So I got there first, and I just mentioned, look, it's a first look at Moon Knight, and it's a very interesting look at Moon Knight as well. What we get is a very, very cool costume design. Right on the first page, as you see him smacking Werewolf, he's got that different cape, which was lost along the way because I guess the editors and creators thought that it didn't look too good. Doug Munch certainly enjoyed it himself. He wanted to keep it. But he's got his hood. Notably, he's got the white face, which kind of actually goes back and forth between being white and just being black, which you see a couple pages afterwards. He's got the crescent moon on his chest. He's got a couple of collars there, which I kind of get lost in the in the more modern designs. He's got his moon belt, which has always stayed there, and he's got his truncheon still strapped to his leg. So a lot of elements obviously have survived and made its way to the modern version of Moon Knight. He also, as well, is very different. He's introduced. He takes on. He's, by all, for all intents and purposes, a normal human being, just a really gifted fighter, and he's taking on a werewolf. So he's certainly, I don't know, viewed as a lot more competent with fighting and skillful to be able to take on basically a monster. Also, my first impressions for the first look at Moon Knight is that his personality and his character haven't actually been fully developed yet. So we see him as a more so stereotypical kind of wisecracking guy, and very much a merc. So very kind of conscious about earning money for doing this job that he's been set about to do. It's an interesting look at the first iteration of Moon Knight, Connor.
Yeah, fuck, John, just doing it all the time. Like, just still going on about the years. My God. As I was saying, like, you can see why people really attach to Moon Knight here. A character even like Boba Fett, with how minimal an appearance he was, became such a popular hit, and Moon Knight feels like the same. He's a really sort of one-dimensional, wisecracking villain, mercenary to say, but the cool design would have been a real cool appeal without ever seeing it before, and I think you can see why it latched on, and it's great that he went from this sort of one-dimensional wisecracking character to actually being taken in a different direction, and that when Munch actually got his hands, he didn't make him this, constantly sort of Spider-Man-esque sort of, or Taskmaster-esque sort of mercenary, and became something a lot more. And
he's got the... Yes, sorry?
No, I was about to go on to my next point. You go on.
Oh, yeah. Just a couple of other things. I thought we do see... Unfortunately, there are a couple of things that are lost along the way, which is a bit of a shame. The first one being his cestus. I think that's how you pronounce it. Basically, his spiked gloves. I always think they're really cool and quite brutal. So you see him using that. And as you were saying, Connor, as well, he has got that cool factor, I can imagine, in the 70s, because he's got all these nifty gadgets like the crescent darts as well. And one of the other things I was about to say that got lost along the way was that he uses silver, which is obviously against werewolves. The werewolves' weakness is silver. So his boots and his cestus and crescent darts are all made out of silver, which is I think is a pretty cool touch. And it would have been fun if they kind of kept it in some capacity, or at least mentioned it in the modern day thing, because I don't know, it does sound a little old fashioned, but it's I think it's pretty. It's a nice little element to him, having silver stuff. That was that was the only idea. Those points that I was about to make there, Connor.
Actually, I would it's interesting that it was silver back then, and eventually didn't stick with the silver and became adamantium or Kevlar.
Kevlar, yeah.
Actually, I will. It's not one of my aspects, but I suppose it should have been. So I'll add a quick note in here as you were talking about the spike gloves. I really like the action scenes in this. I think Moon Knight does a lot of really cool sort of kicks, and there's a lot of great focus on punching with those spike knuckles, or the cool look of throwing the crescent darts. I could see why this title definitely held up back then, and Moon Knight is actually really cool in this. He's just kind of beating the shit out of a werewolf, and an ordinary man.
He's pretty cool, isn't he? Like, he's got the like I say, he's got the gadgets. He's what you say, like the kind of the Boba Fett. He kind of swans in out of nowhere, and he seems to be well prepared and not phased at having to fight a werewolf. And then you have him do these crazy kicks, showing his prowess. It's a pretty cool introduction to Moon Knight, and we see him later on as well when he's at Jack's stepfather's place. And a funny little thing I thought from Doug Munch. He says here, "Hello, Russell. They told me to announce myself as the Moon Knight." Pretty stupid name, but it'll do as far as you're concerned. So he's still he's a bit of a wisecracker, and he kind of shows that he's not. I was just asked to wear this stupid costume, but I've got a job to do, and I'm here to kind of collect you. So he's a bit of an interesting character. And is still very much seen as the villain here, I guess, kind of, which is the important thing.
Yeah, and actually, that's my first aspect. The sort of just the nature of Moon Knight as a character here, definitely sort of a one-off. The fact that he is such an ordinary man that is given both the name, the outfit, and the objective by the evil organization here, the Committee, and is just kind of like told what to do, and just sort of. That wisecracking name really comes from just sort of the fact he's just this mercenary beating up a werewolf because the money was good and he was told to put on a suit. Like, there's really nothing here for Moon Knight straight away other than money and a bit of quips.
Yeah, basically. And he's got actually a pretty impressive CV here, like as mentioned in the bare bones. Yeah, he's a soldier of fortune, mercenary. He's got 3 African wars under his belt, 5 South American revolutions. Like, the guy's done it all. So, Doug Munch and Don Perlin, who created Moon Knight, certainly loaded him up with as much fighting experience and master of all kind of fighting techniques as possible. Look, he's a practitioner of virtually all the martial arts, so you can't get any more skilled than that. And I think he's up there with Taskmaster level. Even Daredevil doesn't know all the martial arts. I'm sure he only knows like one, right? So Moon Knight's like, he's got it all, and very much a hired goon. He which I think is important, because if we go on to when we go on to the next issue, things turn around a little. So that kind of goes what I mentioned before about Munch's narrative. What I found was quite interesting in this issue, and really cool. I mean, it's nothing new really, but what he does, Munch, is you're introduced at the beginning of the issue with the action-packed fight scene, which is really cool, and then it kind of goes back. It's almost as if like the wolf is reminiscing while he's fighting Moon Knight of, how did I get into this predicament? And it actually goes back, and actually there's a weird thing here, Connor, which I'll include now as well with the narrative. It's strange, right? Because Jack Russell has no memory of when he's the wolf, right? But if you read Munch's narrative, there's a mixture of memories of someone remembering the wolf attacking, and then sometimes it's from Jack's perspective as well. So it's a bit loose there, and you have to kind of let that go and just go, okay, well, there's no possible way, because Does that make sense? It's kind of like...
It even seems like a weird handicap he even put on himself. You're leading this title. You could possibly even retcon it that the memories were even still there for a better audience perspective, but yeah.
Yeah, so it's a bit loose, and Munch asks you to kind of, okay, forget that detail, but let's go back into the past and see what's happened. And what he does is that he tracks then Jack Russell's actions until basically he meets up with Moon Knight at his stepfather's place, and then we see him run away, and we're brought back to the scene at the very beginning of the comic issue. So it was a nice little way of I guess structuring the story, I think. And yeah, I mean, and towards the end, again, Moon Knight is just too good for the werewolf, and he manages to beat him. And actually, the werewolf kind of is his own undoing, in that he uses his hand that's kind of broken, and that kind of causes him to kind of howl in pain. And as he's kind of distracted, then the Moon Knight takes takes advantage of it and whacks him one with a truncheon. So at the end of the story, we have a subdued werewolf and Moon Knight with his prize. But yeah, an interesting way that Munch has told the story. Like, we've always talked about how Munch's storytelling is actually quite lyrical and poetic. These early stories that he does is a pretty... I don't know, I'd say it doesn't have that lyricism that we get later on.
Definitely not. Yeah, it doesn't even hold a candle to the writing he'd do like 3 years later, which is a lot of time to develop as a writer. But I even felt like
that is true.
The constraints of back then really sort of gave this exposition that just sort of removed any chance of that sort of blossoming.
And we have to make mention of Don Perlin's art as well.
Fantastic.
I think he's pretty cool, and it goes a long way for informing. I guess there's that synergy between the writer and artist, because with Munch's later lyrical kind of prose, and you have Bill Sienkiewicz with his fantastic art, they seem to kind of work off each other and bounce off each other. Whereas if you look at Don Perlin's art here, which is, I love it. I think it's really nice. His artwork here. But his artwork is more kind of your classic comic book style, and it seems to reflect in Munch's writing. So the writer and artist seem to bounce off each other and kind of influence each other, I think.
Yeah, and even I think there's a lot of... The art is great, and there is like, even for the time, there's a lot of nice sort of synergy there for the writing and the story. Like, I think Munch was a good writer and Perlman worked well with that to create art that sort of tells the story even without the unnecessary exposition. Like, it is unnecessary because I think he paints that picture really well, and that Munch narrative does sort of lend itself to making it a bit more interesting. The time traveling jumps around, as you said.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if it was just a straight-laced, timeline, it would go maybe one or two crescent darts lower, I think, in my rating. I think the narrative really does add to it as well. So I only just had a few notes here, Connor. I thought it was really good as well. We see the first appearance of Frenchie,
which
I think is really cool. That. So no, me too. And so we see Frenchie was, I guess, created exactly the same time as Moon Knight. No moustache, but still heavy accent with his French accent. Also, we get the introduction to the committee, and they're an organisation which pops up later in the Houston run. Houston reintroduces them with a far more sinister bent to them, and the introduction of a new character, the Profile, which he's a really interesting character as well. But we see, shall I say, the bare bones of the committee here. Just basically they're your typical kind of faceless organisation, evil organisation, I guess. Then there's just I think what I mentioned before about Moon Knight's cool use of silver, and you see the first appearance, obviously, of Moon Knight and his weapons, which is really cool. You also see, and what has stayed true to this day, is the helicopter and the rope ladder, which is carried through the whole way of Moon Knight. It's really interesting. I don't know. It's funny, Connor. It's something that I wouldn't imagine a superhero using. Like, sure, he's got the mooncopter later on, but just dangling on that ladder. It just seemed. Yeah,
it's just a cool pose, but it just seems a bit not safe.
Yeah, I wonder if that was kind of maybe ripped off a movie or something, or maybe it was seen as cool at the time. I don't know. But yeah, rope ladders, it just seems to follow Moon Knight everywhere. And the only other couple of notes I had kind of was basically Jack Russell was a pretty interesting character. How I discussed be really cool to see him again. And I noted as well, I guess power sets back in 1975 weren't as intricate and detailed as power sets these days, because back then Jack Russell and the Werewolf apparently had no healing factor. Or no accelerated healing factor. So when he broke his hand and he transformed into the werewolf, he still had his broken hand. So that definitely wouldn't happen with modern era superheroes. If you look at your Wolverines or even your modern day werewolves, they would they'd heal up pretty quickly, but not so in 1975. Any other short notes there, Connor?
No, I think you have covered it rather well.
Actually, well, maybe just one other thing, because I'm just looking through some pictures here. Just note-wise, so we know that Jack has a sister, Lissa, and he's friends with Topaz, and I think it's alluded to later on. Topaz has some sort of psychic abilities. I'm not sure whether there was a Topaz, I believe, in the Doctor Strange corner of the universe. I'm not sure if she is the same character or not.
Have to look it up.
Yeah, I could be totally wrong. But and also, I just thought was interesting was there was a secondary plot with Raymond Coker, which is obviously more into the whole Werewolf by Night comic, because it is a Werewolf by Night comic, and apparently he was a werewolf before, but he was cured. But we see him going overseas to meet up with a voodoo doctor, it seems. So pretty interesting. And have you managed to find out any luck there on Topaz?
Yeah, Topaz actually became kind of her own, very much her own character, blooming from Werewolf by Night, by the looks of it.
Oh, okay. Was she connected with Doctor Strange at all?
No,
Maybe
it doesn't seem
wrong.
so.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
She does get a cooler costume later on, though.
Well, you got to have a cool costume if you're a superhero. Great. Crescent Dart ratings, Connor. What would you give this, the very first appearance of one Mr. Moon Knight?
Look, it's an interesting one. I think as a story, it's competent. Like it's nothing amazing. There's some really nice stuff with Jack Russell as a character. I like the repercussions of the previous story, actually, and its effects on this issue. I think Don Perlman's art is the particular standout here. But I think, I bet I would have liked reading it back then. But now, just looking at it, it's really just a sort of super competent issue that's remembered for the first appearance of Moon Knight rather than anything the story does. And so, with its sort of with the great art, I think I'd probably give it 2.5 Crescent Darts out of 5. It won't hurt you to read it, and I still enjoyed it. But I mean, it just isn't an issue you really sort of think about after.
No. Yeah, I know exactly where you're coming from as well, and I'd have to agree as well. I'd give it like 3 Crescent Darts.
Yeah.
It is good. 3 is is decent, but as you say, it's nothing memorable or outstanding. Purely, again, I think Don Perlin's art really sells it a lot, which is good. The character of the werewolf is a compelling character, and of course, the first appearance of Moon Knight is an exciting thing. So all those together, you get a pretty cool. And also Munch's narrative story structure, I think, was quite exciting. So you put that together, and you get quite a solid issue, but nothing outstanding or seen as one of the greatest comic book issues of all time or anything like that. But I mean, I would read it again. But unfortunately, we're always presented with a problem, Connor, of there just being too many damn comics in the world. So, so whether or not I'd reread it in the near future, I don't know. But, good. I'm even thinking of, I wouldn't mind getting the Epic collection of Werewolf by Night. That's how interested I am in Werewolf. Okay. Would you look at getting a collection of that, Connor, or you're happy with just the digital, just getting it digitally?
Yeah, probably just getting digitally. Like I said, I have actually enjoyed what I've read. I've only read the particular Munch run, but no, I think it's a nice piece of comics history, and it's kind of some of the earliest supernatural tales that sort of took on a life of its own outside of just sort of the classic. Oh, it's Dracula. Oh, it's another thing in the Marvel universe. Hi, there was a real character with Jack Russell and. Yeah, why not? I'd like it. It'd actually be kind of a nice companion piece alongside the Moon Knight Epic collections.
Yeah, I reckon it would be. Yeah, it'd be good. Good to have. And what you said, I didn't realise about the length of run that Doug Munch has on Werewolf by Night. It would be. I would be curious to read the other issues. The many issues that he wrote for Werewolf by Night. So, definitely worth checking it out. Loonies, you can. Find this on Marvel Unlimited first up, and I read it on the Epic Collection, Volume 1 of the Epic Collection of Moon Knight.
Me too.
It's available there. Also, what am I missing? Maybe Comixology? I'm not sure. I didn't do my homework, Connor. Look, I guess just check out Comixology. It may or may not be there. or just Amazon. Actually, you'd probably be best to check the Kindle Kindle store as well. Because Amazon have a vast range there, which obviously speaks to Comixology. Anywho, that was issue 32. We are now treated with our second Over the Moon book review, and this comes straight after the issue that we've just reviewed. This is issue 33.
And we have Levins and Siobhan returning for their second part of the narration. Take it away, Levins and Siobhan.
All right, part two.
This is Werewolf by Night, issue 33, Wolf Beast versus Moon Knight.
Do you need to see who we are again?
Oh yeah, I'm Siobhan.
I'm Levins.
Nice.
We're from the podcast Serial. This was released in September 1975, was written by Doug Munch, with art by Don Perlin and Howie Perlin, colours by George Roussos, letters by Deborah James, and edited by Len Wein, apparently.
I would say Wein.
We see Moon Knight and his prize, an unconscious werewolf, making a hasty exit from the streets where they tussled in the previous issue before, narrated by two very good narrators.
Absolutely.
The police have arrived but are unable to apprehend Moon Knight as he is whisked away in Frenchie's chopper, the trusty rope ladder, a lifeline for Spectre and his prize.
Meanwhile, in Haiti, a seedy character named Northrop tries to bribe a Haitian customs officer for the whereabouts of one Raymond Coker. Coker appears to also have had a history with werewolves. It is not because
Very
of this.
common practice in the 70s.
It is not because of this, but more because of Northrop's character that the customs officer refuses to assist him. He knows a dodgy customer when he sees him, and so Northrop leaves in a huff, threatening to find Coker by any means possible.
Coker, in fact, is a Haitian swamp speaking...
He's in a Haitian
swamp.
Oh,
whoops, no, he is a swamp. Everyone knows that. Coker, in fact, is in a Haitian swamp, speaking to an oracle named Gisela, and her perceptive gaze seems to recognize the curse that once beheld Coca. It is not this which draws Coca to seek Gisela, but something else, a horrifying tale of murder and resurrection, for it seems Coca's great-grandfather, Duranda, has risen from the dead and is terrorizing the small village from whence he came. Gisela mentions that the only one person can deal with the likes of this, that of zombies, and that person is Jericho Drum.
Hell yeah.
AKA?
Oh god, what's his name?
Isn't that Dr. Voodoo?
Yeah, Dr. Voodoo. There you go. Sorry. Back.
I guess we'll find out in a minute.
Back high above the sky, Moon Knight drifts on the ladder from Frenchie's helicopter with the werewolf in check. Suddenly, the werewolf awakens, and despite the great height that they are at, he attacks Moon Knight on pure instinct. They both fall from the ladder and land in the ocean 500 feet below with an almighty splash. With Topaz and Lissa looking on from the chopper, fearing them dead, they soon see the pair alive and at each other's throats again. It is an epic fight, with neither getting the better of each other, and it is only when the werewolf inconveniently reverts back to Jack Russell that Moon Knight makes the most of it and subdues him with a swift kick. A kick in the water? That's amazing.
He's a spectacular superhero.
He sure is. With the cargo again compliant, Moon Knight lugs Jack onto the ladder of the chopper once again, and they resume their way towards the committee for Moon Knight to receive his payment.
They arrived at an undisclosed location, a meeting place of which the committee has arranged. With Jack safely in a cage and with Topaz and Lissa bound, the committee leader commends Moon Knight for a job well done. Not convinced that the man in the cage is indeed a werewolf, the committee refused to pay Moon Knight until the full moon rises in the evening. This is a bad idea, the idiot
That's
committee.
a bad call, guys.
Jack, seeing his sister and friend bound and finding himself in a cage, begins to see red, and by the time the full moon does arrive, Jack is already in a highly agitated state. Right before their very eyes, the committee see Jack Russell transform into the werewolf. Confirming that Moon Knight has completed his job successfully, they pay him and reveal the purpose of attaining the werewolf. The committee intend to use the werewolf as a weapon to assassinate anyone who gets in their way.
Having seen Jack as a decent man and hearing the committee's nefarious intentions, Moon Knight has a change of heart, thank goodness, and decides to free the werewolf. Moon Knight helps him out of the cage and the two attack the committee, and before long, all the members have either fled or been killed. Or have been killed. Anyway, Moon Knight frees Topaz and Lissa, and although he tries to reason with the werewolf, is forced to let him be. A creature of pure instinct does not understand camaraderie, and Moon Knight is not one to try and convince it.
Moon Knight swings away and watches from the rooftop as the werewolf lurches into the darkness and fog. He quietly salutes him and wishes the werewolf luck.
Enjoy, guys.
The end.
The end.
Stay tuned. Come back next week when we read Barack Obama's biography. One paragraph at a time.
Who wants that?
It's not for me.
Big thank you to Levins and Siobhan for another cool narration. Very funky, very psychedelic indeed.
Connor, we have the next issue. And a continuation, obviously, where we were left off. Moon Knight had taken Werewolf and subdued him, and flew away. And we see a turning point in Moon Knight. Again, I guess, what were your overall impressions of this issue?
Yeah, I think it very much follows the same sort of passion. I like that it's almost sort of a. If you read this issue one after the it just feels like one giant issue. Like there's a nice flow on. That's really great. It just kind of hits all the high points. There's plenty of stuff I was about to say, but we'll cover in aspects. But yeah, just a lot of sort of the good stuff from before makes its way here. We see more of the committee. There's a setup of a whole nother plot point around the Werewolf by Night universe, and we see something big changing for Moon Knight. So yeah, just sort of when looking at these two issues, you can all just sort of really just clump them together as some nice sort of story.
Yeah, and obviously by having Munch and Perlin on the reins again, it's very, very, very consistent all the way through. And how about we go? Well, actually, can I just? I'll raise one of my first aspects.
By all means. Mine first. Get out of here with that rubbish.
No, but just off the back of what you mentioned in the previous issue, I thought this issue had action aplenty. I thought it was really cool to see, like, we weren't, you know, as you mentioned before about it being, you know, there's a lot of text and a lot of dialogue, but Munch allows for a lot of action here. So we get a quite a thrilling, thrilling escape from the police. First off, shooting at Moon Knight as he dangles away on his rope ladder. You see them falling from the ladder when Werewolf awakes and having a massive battle on the pier and in the water, which is pretty cool. And then, of course, finally you have the big showdown at the committee's headquarters or secret hideout or whatever it is. And Moon Knight kind of, changing his tune. And he and Werewolf teaming up to basically defeat the committee. So a lot of action here, which I really enjoyed, and I felt, although there was action in 32 as well, but I felt this had a lot more at stake.
Yeah. Sorry, lost my train of thought there entirely. No, yeah, I think really sort of leaning it on Perlman's art and just a great little action issue was sort of the kind of what sort of this made this issue so great. There was the nice story set up in the previous issue, and now there's a lot of fun comic book fisticuffs, and I think Don Perlman really, really doing great work here. I think a lot of his background stuff as well. We always talk about the backgrounds, and he really doesn't leave much out in this cool sort of industrial complex with bars and lights aplenty. Great water effects, actually. Some really fun lighting effects by colorist George Roussos.
George Roussos, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was actually a lot of fun to read, and like I said, the art really carries this, and I feel like Munch actually, you don't know how much they did, but there was obviously a decent or great amount of teamwork between these two to plot such a fun and interesting action epic.
As well, as you mentioned, I think added to Perlman's, merits, he's also great perspectives as well. I'm looking at, just perspectives of panels. So there's even that secondary plot where Coker is talking about basically zombies. What's up ahead, you can just tell, is that there's going to be a zombie issue because it's all centered around these resurrected relatives. But anyway, there's some really nice angles that he draws in, and when Moon Knight and Werewolf fight underwater and they fall off the ladder,
highlight
again, highlights. They're really not only just conventional perspectives, but he really plays around with it, so it really does give a dynamic effect. So plenty of action. If we actually even go towards the end as well, if I look at the end, was a bit of a brutal fight, don't you think? Like when I was reading it, you're thinking there's this werewolf, like a monster, basically ripping into what seems to be just normal suited businessmen, albeit evil, and some of them have firearms, but they're by no means fighters. And the werewolf and Moon Knight, who has his spiked knuckles, start whacking into them. So it's quite a violent fight, but quite high octane.
Moon Knight obviously got his chops here when it came to brutally murdering everyone with a bunch of werewolves, as we covered last week. But it was definitely a very sort of. He was definitely a mercenary here more than anything. He didn't really care about being the hero, and.
No. I wonder, he pulls up Werewolf from the water, and he claims, look, I've got to bring you alive to get my money. I wonder if that was a hint of heroism as well, with him not wanting Werewolf to die. And also towards the end, we do get a change of character. I was just thinking that's one of my next aspects. But anyway, let's go on to one of yours, Connor.
Ooh, yes, indeed. I shall decide. Yeah, let's just quickly talk about the committee. They're very much a super duper evil organization here. It's you see the reveal of that. I feel like they're pretty existing villains wanting to use the werewolf as their weapon, and the big turning point is them deciding just to kill everyone. There's not much to say about them. They're fairly sort of one-dimensional villains, but it's a fun little point for the story, which I feel will be your next plot point aspect as well.
Aspect, yeah.
All fat businessmen, which make them a nice little bunch to kill off. Everyone hated them.
That's right.
In the 70s.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Anyone with a suit and a tie, just evil. So, the committee obviously shown here, and they let slip, what their nefarious, motive was to get Werewolf, which was, surprise, to use him as a weapon. Not really a well thought out plan, I think, from the committee, trying to get an uncontrollable animal. I mean, what were they hoping to dog train him, or maybe or put a mic? Yeah, I mean, how were they going to control him? Like, it seemed like they were only thinking one step ahead, like one step at a time. But yeah, it's pretty funny. And that kind of goes on to, again, I took a chunky aspect here, which was basically, the turning around of Moon Knight. He kind of sees the innocence and the nobility of Jack Russell, and towards the end, he gets his money, because the committee wait until the full moon to see Jack Russell turn into a werewolf, and he gets paid, but then he all of a sudden has a change of heart, and says, look, you dudes, if you're going to use him as a weapon, he's a nice bloke, but, I'm not going to stand for this. And so he lets loose a beast, which is Jack Russell, and they go at it at the committee. So this is good. I think this must have been an obvious response, kind of to the fans probably wanting more of Moon Knight. So Munch, I'm imagining, decided to write him in quickly. How do we spin him around? Because I'm pretty sure they had mapped out what the story would be, but for me, I'm assuming maybe they had to kind of change it last minute due to the popularity of Moon Knight. Do you see that kind of happening there?
Maybe. I feel like these stories have to be put. I think they do have to be put out like 3 months before they go to print or something.
Oh, okay. So maybe not.
Yeah, I feel like this may have been more just just sort of what he had planned, and it's kind of cool how the sense it makes that he seemed to be just fighting a villainous werewolf for money. Not that he really cares about morality, and then when it's revealed he's going to kill everyone in the building, he's like, oh yeah, maybe not. I'm just gonna.
Yeah.
I do like.
It certainly. Yeah. Oh? Yeah, it certainly doesn't. It certainly doesn't feel like Munch has done a complete 180 and decided to just change the ending there. I guess so. But yeah, it is interesting because he did become quite a popular character. So it's very good. Very good. Kind of foresight, I guess, by Munch and Marvel in general.
Yeah, I do like the change and just the final shot of the very cheekily written and very different written Moon Knight back then is sitting on top of the building waving his cash as he salutes the werewolf goodbye. I like that, and I think actually some of that cheek was kept. Munch changed the character a lot, and obviously for the better of the amazing runs we've experienced since then. But I do like he was all quips here, but there's still plenty of times Moon Knight keeps this sort of train going, and that's really it. I really like that final panel.
Yeah, no, that is good, and it's interesting though. Here again, we're looking at the first appearance, say, of Moon Knight and the development of him. There's no mention at all yet of his personalities or anything like that. It's very much a mercenary angle, and it's one that Marvel returned to with Mark Spector, Moon Knight. We discussed previously as well how Chuck Dixon was actually directed to or instructed to forget about the multiple personalities that Moon Knight had and just concentrate on his mercenary background. This is pretty much it from Munch. Just a mercenary who is very skillful, has some gadgets, but there's nothing that hints towards the greater complexities that he has when he has Khonshu, the whole Egyptian history to him, or his Jake Lockley persona and Stephen Grant persona. So yeah, that's still yet to come. And for notes here, Connor, I've only got a few here. I thought what was interesting, and again maybe a sign of the times, Moon Knight had no problem in killing the committee members, and I'm pretty sure he did, because what does he do? He basically throws the lead guy to the werewolf and basically assists in him, the werewolf, killing the guy, because it says Fatso hit the floor like rubberized jello, and when the quivering stopped, it was just the two of us. So, I guess you can argue that's poetic. It's a very poetic way that Munch has written the death of the committee member leader. So yeah, no problem in killing, and Werewolf obviously has no problem in killing as well. So death was a lot more, was seen a lot more less than it has these days. Also, as well, I thought the 500 feet fall from the helicopter. Now, come on, like I think they should do this on MythBusters or something. Connor, you would die, wouldn't you?
100%.
I mean, surely.
Especially if that's just like sort of silver and nothing cushioning in some sort of super tech suit.
Oh, for sure.
Gone.
It'd be like hitting concrete.
Yeah.
So, so they I fear they would have splat unless they actually did a 10-point dive and managed to pierce the surface without much worry. Also, as well, this is kind of previewing a bit later down the track, Connor, and the later issues and the next appearances of Moon Knight will see a slow development and a gradual growth of the character. But at the moment, Moon Knight is, again, I guess we'll just emphasise, he's just a normal guy that happens to have a lot of war experience and military experience. He's by no means super in any way, but we do learn later on in the subsequent issues that he gains extra strength from the moon. So and apparently it's not shown on these issues, but apparently during this time, during their struggles, he was bitten by the werewolf, and the saliva actually had given Moon Knight enhanced strength and endurance. So we can see later on that Munch starts to play around with Moon Knight a bit more, tries to kind of, how do I make him, a bit more interesting than just a guy in a suit. But at the moment, yeah, he's just a normal merc. So yeah.
Yeah.
Any other notes, possibly, Connor?
Yeah, actually, just my final aspect. I forgot to bring it up
Oh,
entirely.
did you? I thought. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's actually just a pretty quick one, but it just sort of points out that this is the first appearance of Moon Knight as someone that I think Munch wrote to not be that important, but as just a cool villain to remember before he became our favorite hero. That Moon Knight may salute, and it seems like their paths may cross again, but one, they don't for the rest of this run. And also, like, a fourth of this issue is just setting up a whole arc entirely, and Moon Knight just kind of says goodbye. So yeah, it's just kind of sort of funny to see that.
Yeah. I mean, again, like it is a Werewolf by Night comic, so they have Munch has duties to keep future plots trickling over. So a lot of it was taken up with the Raymond Coker subplot, and the setup for the Zuvembis, which are zombies, Haitian zombies, and they make mention of Jericho Drum, so Brother Voodoo, which is pretty cool. So I imagine he gets a guest spot in the later Werewolf by Night comic issues. But having said that, Connor, as we move on to Crescent Dart ratings, how did you see this issue unfold?
I would say, yeah, just sort of the same thing, I like the way this issue took it. I like Moon Knight's turn. That didn't feel totally unbelievable and sort of fun. And it was really just sort of a fun issue. I think the less focus on big exposition-heavy text and the focus on Moon Knight quipping as the great art carries Russell and Moon Knight fighting, and then Russell and Moon Knight fighting everyone, sort of pushes this issue up as to possibly a more fun 3 out of 5. I'd probably say more 2.75 out of 3.
Mm-hmm.
I think...
Okay.
Yeah,
2.7 out of 5, right?
Yeah, sorry. Did I say 10?
Yeah. I know you said 3.
Oh.
I was like, oh, that's pretty high. That's pretty high.
Oh, what can I say?
Yeah, I mean, like you as well, I think I would bump it up just a little bit more. I did enjoy this a little bit more than the previous one, only because we start to see the heroics of Moon Knight, I guess. And like I mentioned, I really did enjoy the action scenes. I'd give it like, I'd go into decimal. I'll go 3.1 or 3.2, just a little bit more than than what I thought. Because much like I think the previous issue, it had all the same traits, but like I said, it was good to see a lot more action, and Moon Knight starting to turn his way around. So Loonies, those are the first 2 issues of the very first appearance of Moon Knight. Before we go into the next phase, Connor, we had something hot off the press.
Yes. As we were talking about the appearance of a hero in The Punisher, there is now an article up by CBR called Did the Punisher Introduce Another Marvel Hero? It's complete spoilers for this. Well, not complete spoilers, but does sort of give away the spoiler of whether it's there or not. I will not say whether you finished the series or not, or maybe just want to know. I did. I'm not going to lie. I discovered the truth.
Oh, you had a look? Yeah,
I did.
Okay.
But I'll leave that in the description to check out for any loonies wanting to know. So yeah, hot off the press. And by that, I mean, it was actually 12 hours ago, crap.
Well, close enough. No, that's great. So as always, we'll have all the stuff for your reading pleasure on our blog. Next phase, we will go... we're still going to continue with the 2 issues, Connor, I think, just of the classic run. And then I guess we'll just have to discuss... We'll have to put our collective Moon Knight minds together and just try to finalise one of the recent runs that we want to do. But next phase we have Marvel Spotlight Volume 1 number 28, The Crushing Conquerlord, and Marvel Spotlight Volume 1 29, which is Part 2, called The Deadly Gambit of Conquerlord. Now I've read these, Connor, just recently, and all I can say is I'm a little speechless with it. So I can't wait to review this with you. Yeah.
Is that good or bad, Ray? Is that good or bad?
Look, I'll leave it to the loonies. have a reread of it, and just have that in your mind. I can't wait to review this with Connor. We'll again have another guest. We'll have a guest narrator for this, which will be rather exciting as well. But those are the 2 issues that we'll be covering for the next episode, episode 17.
And I think solicitations next week for the look at issue 5 of our new Moon Knight run.
Oh, that'll be fantastic. We've got to keep a close eye on Twitter as well, Connor, for any preview pages that they might drop.
That's the week after next issue.
Yeah, right. Yes, yeah, that's right. Which will be a lot of fun. We've got that 1-page preview, which looks pretty cool. Connor, I'll throw it to you for Spectacle. We actually had a couple of comments.
So yes, after the crazy great issue last week of 188, you better believe that plenty of loonies and listeners of the show had a lot to say. And as one loony came to us, had something rather cool that none of us picked up on, and maybe something that Bemis very much intended to do. So an email from Paul Harmon read, "Not sure if you guys picked up on this, but you didn't go over it in your newest review, so I figured I'd mention it. Bemis is quoted as saying he wanted to make the newest nemesis Moon Knight opposite in every way. This applies to obvious things, Sun versus Moon, Ra versus Khonshu, a king versus a knight, etc., but also to a very subtle detail, I think. If you look closely, Patient 86 has a scar on the right side of his lip. You can't see it beneath his beard, but in his military picture, as well as projections of his military and teenage self. The scar seems to be counterpoint to the scar on Mark's left eyebrow that he got from Bushman, the way varying by writer. But the child projection didn't have the scar. Perhaps the scar is indicated of some incident, how he got his powers, or maybe it's simply a sign of abuse. Either way, it was worth noting. P.S. I don't think Patient 86 is the truth. That's another character. Patient 86 will probably be the Sun King.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Paul. That was that was a nice. That's what I love about sharing these things, I guess, with loonies and fellow fans, is that you get different sets of eyes looking at things, and certainly didn't pick this up, Connor, about the scar, but I really think that's a nice little detail.
Yeah, for sure. And looking back at the issue, I definitely think that was very much. I think I would go far as to say that was a choice made, because you can and you see his protection. It's not super visible, but it is about as visible as Mark's own scar on his eyebrow.
On his eyebrow. Yeah. No, that's a great pickup. So thank you so much, Paul, for sending that in. And his little PS as well about Patient 86. I responded to Paul as well, and just I guess reiterating what Rebecca had speculated on about the truth, and how in Hebrew the truth is Emmet. How I think that Dr. Emmett will become the truth. I think that's a lot more plausible now, like considering that no spoilers at the end of 188. She gets burnt to a crisp, but still survives. Very exciting stuff. But thank you so much, Paul. And any other loonies, please, of course, just send in your emails if you want, and we'll read them out. We certainly love picking up on these details that we haven't before.
For sure. And we got another one from Matt from our chat room, The Loony Bin, which you can find by going to our Facebook group, which is something alright. Vamped for time. Facebook.com/group/into the night. He said, get out of there. Finished. Moon Knight hasn't been in a better, more primed for rock solid creative arc since 2006 to 2007. This like Lemire's run is exactly what was needed.
I totally agree with you, Matt. And I remember this one, and I put this one in because I think Matt was he read it a little later than the rest of us, so it's good to see that he wasn't spoiled with anything, and he shares the same sentiments that we all share for what looks to be an exciting Bemis run.
For sure, and I hope everyone listening is following along, and feel free to write in your reviews or comments, or if you want us to read them out on the show, or have your own little points to point out, like Paul, Mr. Harmon. By all means. Mr. Harmon. Send in Facebook page, emails, however you may find us. Exactly.
We're spreading our, we're spreading like a plague over the internet. So just search for Into the Night, and I'm sure we'll pop up. Thank you once again, Loonies, for hanging around with us, and to go through what is, the first couple of issues, the first appearance of Moon Knight. So it's a beginning of a long journey, I feel, Connor. We've got, I believe I looked up in one of the websites, I think Moon Knight equals something like 330 or 340 appearances in comic book issues. Ooh. So that's 340 issues we're going to have to get through, albeit some of the ones that we've already reviewed. But excellent stuff. If there's unless there's anything else, Connor, I reckon we can sign off.
Yes, I will hopefully. I'll be away basically all of next week before I come back on the Sunday to record next episode. But I am picking up my Funko Pops when I return, so we will awesome. In the next coming episodes dedicate a little figure episode or something akin.
Yeah. Oh, and we shouldn't forget as well, Connor. We have to we'll have to fit in a Bushman spotlight somewhere.
Yes, definitely. Especially as we're going back through Moon Knight's history, we should definitely start it off on the right foot with a look at his biggest antagonist so far, who sees what the future brings for the Sun King.
Righty. Well, thanks a lot, Loonies, and we'll catch you next time.
thank you all coming by as always, and may Conchi watch over the denizens of the night. Oh, also, I totally would have been fine if Moon Knight kept his little cape attached to his hands. It's kind of cute. I like the look. Goodbye, everyone.
See you later.
Moon Knight and affiliated characters, stories and events are properties of Marvel Characters Incorporated. Materials used and discussed within the podcast are intended for critique and review purposes only under the fair dealing concept of the current Copyright Act. The views, information or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the copyright owners.